listed as well, so it's very, very old. And one of the most unusual things is it has a double fireplace in here to keep the place warm, because it was much bigger, it was a much bigger room at one stage, and this is where the children were downstairs here to start with, all in one big classroom. So that's why they had the two fireplaces, but all the heat was at this end of the room, so if you were sitting at the back end of the room, you'd still be quite cold, right? So if you'd like to follow me now, we'll go outside. And when you think this whole area was practically devastated in the Second World War by bombs and whatever, it still is standing, and it only had some windows blown out, and it's much higher than all the other buildings around, and it would have been looked like it would have been a target, but miraculously it just completely was saved. And you can also see over there we have a blue plaque that was from Sir Henry Ayres, who was the first Premier of Australia. He emigrated with his family as a small boy, but prior to that he was actually a pupil at this school here for quite a few years, and the Australian Embassy came a couple of years ago and gave us a blue plaque here for this thing here as well. But as you can see there, the lovely window up there, the arch window, that's just recently been restored. It was just boarded up for a long time because as it's a listed building, everything has to be approved by English Heritage, and that we can't just go to B&Q and whack a bit of double glazing up, you know. So some of the windows as you go around are boarded up because it's very, very expensive. And this was, we got some grants from English Heritage and the Arts Council, and that provided the restoration of the new windows and in the front there. As you can see, this whole area around here is very modern buildings, but previously this area was a very, very poor area. It was all like one-storey little terraced houses and that, and no sanitation, gutters in the street, the sewers and everything like that. And the proximity to the docks meant that there was all the industry around here. I mean, this long road here, if you see it's a long straight road, this originally was called Rope Walk because there was a rope factory here because they had to have straight, so wind the ropes up, everything. So people would work there. There was also a corset factory up here, very important one, because all the ladies Victorians wore whalebone corsets, and one of the big exports here was the oil lamps, because they used to go whaling and bring in the whale oil, and one of the things left over from the carcass would be the whale bones, which were used for the corsets. So people had their oil lamps and the whale bones for the corsets. And there was lots of other industry here. And what happened was that when it was busy, the port was busy, like when there was wars, especially in the Napoleonic Wars, everyone had work. But when there was no wars, the docks were quiet, sailors weren't paid, so the area went downhill very, very quickly. And there was very, very bad child mortality here as well because of the bad sanitary conditions. Now, if you'd like to follow me up here now, take to the next road. These were the first council houses in Portsmouth. The actual road is preserved, as are the trees, as it's the one standing remaining council road around here. And when the council built them, because previously there was a lot of overcrowding, very, very poor housing, and they wanted people to have something nice and light, so they actually planted these trees. So as you came around the corner, you see this nice, almost suburban-looking street. It doesn't belong in a dockyard area at all, and the trees are actually preserved. They can't be changed or anything like that. As you can see, there's all plastic bags there. We were knee-deep in leaves last week here with these trees, because they shed an awful lot of leaves. And if there's one outside your house, you can't do anything about it. A lot of the houses now have been sold, and they're not council houses, but there's still some restrictions on what they can do to the exterior of them to try and keep it all in keeping as original. And at the bottom end of the road there used to be a synagogue, and in the Second World War it had a direct hit. And outside of London, Portsmouth had the biggest Jewish community for a city in the whole of Britain. But after the bombing of the synagogue, because the trades all went, everything like that, so the merchants all left, all the Jewish merchants, the majority of them actually left. So there's no longer, they didn't rebuild the synagogue there. And as I said before, in times of war and whatever, it was very prosperous. The people all had work, jobs, they had money. But when there was no wars, no money. And a group of merchants, there was a lot of poverty in the area. They thought, well, it'd be a good idea to sort of make people anticipate what's going to happen, and they set up the Beneficial Society, which is really like the credit union, they set it up so people could pay a little bit of money in when they were working, they had money, and then they could draw it out when there was no work. So it stopped them being liable for the parish to pay for them, because there was no benefit system or anything like that then. So the parish used to have to support the poor people. They tried to make them have a bit more responsibility for themselves, and they set up what was called the Beneficial Society. Then they also decided that to try and elevate the people out of poverty, it was education. There was no free schooling in those days. So what they did, they took 9 boys and they decided we will pay for their education. And because they had the Beneficial Society, they called it the Beneficial School. So the 9 boys came here to the school, no girls I'm afraid at all, till late 1800s the girls. They took the boys in, and of course the parents didn't want the boys to go to school because they wanted them to work, because it's money. So what they did was they said, if you send them to school, we will feed them and clothe them. So that meant literally 1 less mouth to feed at home. So the boys came, they were educated, they could read and write, and the idea was that they would get better jobs and be able to support the family, again, not to be a liability on the parish. So they'd all be self-sufficient. That was their idea. And this school was very, very, very successful. It went on for a long time. As I told you, Henry Ayres came here. Lots of other quite famous people came here for a while. And in the late 1800s, they actually extended the school and they accepted girls. And it was a primary school right until the 60s. And then they built a new school. There's a new school next door here, more modern school, because they didn't have inside sanitation. The toilets were outside in the playground. There's very little sanitation actually in the actual building itself, because when it was built, they didn't have pipes and things like this going everywhere. So there is on the ground floor, but not upstairs on the top floor. Okay, right, I'll take you in now. Good afternoon, Headmaster. Don't be late.
No talking, please. You like to turn your chairs facing this way, please. Boy, stop moving your chair about. Quiet, please. No talking. I'm the only one that's going to talk. Good afternoon. Welcome to Groundlings Theatre, formerly known as the Old Beneficial Hall. In 1754, John Shakespeare, I think had to do with William Shakespeare, and 5 other gentlemen formed the Beneficial Society. Their whole aim was to put £1 a month into a chest with 5 locks. If anything happened to their business, they had money to put in. So they used to put £1 a month away in the box. So over the years, they kept putting money away. When one of the society members said, well, why don't we use this money to educate the poor boys of Portsmouth? Which they thought was a good idea. So he turned one of his rooms into a classroom, employed a teacher, and had 3 pupils. So over the years, they kept putting money away. And then in 1784, a plot of land came up for sale, which they purchased £280 and built this building that stands here today, known as the Old Beneficial School, the Old Benny. Originally, it came as far as the fireplace there. If you look on the floor, you can see where the wall was knocked down. That was added in the 1800s. So in this area, you had no bar, no toilet, no kitchen. This wasn't here. This went back to the wall. Kids used to come through a door at the side of the building into the classroom, where they would sit in a circular. I'm Archibald Mills, the headmaster, and my desk used to be in the middle of the circle. How many boys do you think there were? Excuse me while I sit down. How many boys do you think there were?
40.
No.
9.
No.
12.
No. Anybody else? Higher.
20.
Higher.
24.
Higher.
100.
Higher.
200.
250. And one teacher, that's me, Archibald Mills. So it was very, very strict here. The kids used to get punished for the slightest little thing. Now, in those days you had no hot and cold running water, no sanitation, no refuse collection. All your mothers' and fathers' food and cooked food always went under the floorboards. And then they would fill that up and then they would move to the end of the room. By the time they got to the end of the room, that would be all rotted away and they would start again. Now, if a little boy came to school and hadn't washed, he was immediately put in the stocks over there. This adjustable seat, which you can move up and down. That went in there. This came off. That came out. Put their ankles in there. That went back on again like that. That went in there. In there. Padlocked at the bottom. How long do you think they were in there for?
All day.
No. Anybody else?
Will they be punished to go in
Yeah,
there?
were punished because they hadn't washed.
So the next most probably 2 or 3 days?
3 days without bread and water. We don't know if they went home at night, but I certainly wouldn't be able to stay in there, sat like that with your feet up all day. You couldn't do it. Now little George here, he brought a bow and arrow into the school. He fired the arrow, hit the little boy in the head. We don't know what happened to George, but we got it's a little boy that got hit, but we've all got the records of George. He was taken here to the whipping post. One boy held one hand, one boy held the other hand. He was pulled round the post, his breeches were taken off, his shirt was off his back, and he was birched. He collapsed to the floor. They called for the doctor. I called for the doctor through a local church. He came, examined George, picked him up and said he was fine. I carried on birching him until the doctor said, that's enough, picked him up, laid him on the table and then rubbed salt into his wounds, which was an antiseptic in those days. They used to have this where the boys were naughty. Their hands used to go in there, like that. So they were hung up like that to get birched. So that's what would happen with them, little boys. What else? Oh yeah, if you dropped a piece of paper or anything on the floor, you would get 6 of the best. And because they were all cross-legged on the floor, they get a little boy or an elderly boy to kneel up, and they would lie him across his back, and then he would on his bottom all across the hand. So you would get 3 on that hand and 3 on that hand. Because if you said you were right-handed and you had it all there, you couldn't use the chalk to do your work, so they used to do 1 on it either side. So have you got any questions at all?
At the beginning it was said that 9 boys were chosen to be taught at this school to give them an education. So how did that develop into having a fuller school?
The boys that came to this school was between the age of 4 to 11, and that's when they would be here until they were 11, and then they went home. But there was, when it first opened, there was 250 boys in this school, but they would be taught the 3 R's, writing, arithmetic and reading, a little bit of geography, but not very much. But it was very, very strict. Now, Queen Victoria's actually been here and to see Strauss play, but her husband was one of the society members, and he shored up one of the classrooms to turn it into a girls' school. But they didn't want to go to school because it was over the stables and they'd get the swearing of the stable lads, so they didn't want to go to school. But in 1837 there was 200 boys and 100 girls in the school, and that was all taught like me as a teacher and then other teachers. Inspectors came round and closed down the school because of bad sanitation and clothing and not giving the kids enough food. They actually closed the society down. So yes, it's very, very... And these 2 fireplaces would where they would have cooking all the food for the banquet upstairs for all the society members. And very, very occasionally the boys were allowed to go upstairs and dip their bun, the Benny bun that they used to get, in the gravy and all everything that was left over. But that was very, very occasionally. No shoes on their feet or anything like that. So. Yeah.
Did they sleep here as well?
Sorry?
Did they sleep here?
No.
So where did they sleep?
Well, in the houses, all the slums which were outside there, which they were 3 stories high buildings, and it was worse than Liverpool, the slums. But then the council came along years and years after, demolished them all and built those council houses that are out there today to get rid of the rats because of the plague, like in London. And the archaeologists are saying now that the Great Fire of London was started deliberately because there was only 3 people who actually died. So they must have evacuated the area because it spread so quickly. So that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care.
Oh, look at all you posh ladies and gentlemen. Oh, lovely to see you again, darling. Oh, how's the wife? Oh, is she all right, is she? Oh, you're a good soul. You'll look after me, won't you? I ain't doing no harm. I've got as much right to be on old road walk as the next person. I'm just trying to make an honest living. Do you know what he did? He threw me down those stairs.
Very good job as well.
Oh, you're something horrible. Do you know what he said? I was lowering the tune of the neighbourhood. Well, you couldn't get much lower than this, could you? I got 6 kids. And my Bert, he's in Kingston now. And the youngest, Freddie, well, he got the diphtheria. All right, love, you know, I'm not infectious. Yeah. And then my friend, my lovely friend Lil, oh, she works Southampton Road down there. It's her little patch, you know. Well, I tell you what, she was with a gentleman. It was about 2 days ago now. Well, I won't call him much of a gentleman. He cut her bad. And they took her off to the infirmary. We ain't seen her since. Well, the place is crawling with the peelers. So a woman like me, I've got to be very careful, haven't I? You know what I mean? Well, and funny enough, today, there was a posh lady come, you know, one of those reformer ladies, you know, do-gooders, you know. She come in here all in her refinery. Well, I mean, what can she do for someone like me? I ask you, you know what I mean? Can't do nothing for me, can she? So, anyway, I'm telling you, I've got as much right to be here as anyone else. Now, oh, I see you looking at my corset, you saucy boy. Yeah, well, I'll get some made, you know. I'll get some made down there, right down there, the bottom there, of Old Road Walk, in a big factory. You know, they send them out all over the world. Funny little place, Portsmouth, innit, eh? Full of people living, working, happy together, married. You know what I mean? Ah, well, I suppose, really, I better get going. I've got a gentleman waiting, you know. All right! You know, I think it's about time that I went and saw him. Oh, you left them last time, darling. And I ain't washed them. Oh, don't tell me what to do. Hold over there. Oh, gentlemen might not be ready for me. How dare you? You're not allowed to touch me. Leave me alone.
Go.
No, not to talk.
Just don't fall down the stairs now.
You stay on the left-hand side of the staircase, please.
I don't know which is my left.
Mind the step as you come through the door. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Headmaster. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Beneficial Society Tour. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm here to tell you about a time when I was here on the 6th of February 1812. You see, I'd come here with my husband John to attend a Royal Naval ball. We often came here to the balls, to the concerts, and to see the speakers of the day, because you see, my husband John worked in the dockyard just down the road, as did my father, but we don't talk about him. But anyway, it was the 6th of February that really sticks in my mind. You see, I was heavily pregnant with my second child. And as I was watching all the elegant dancers, I was stood here by the fireplace. I suddenly and quite unexpectedly went into labour. As you can imagine, it caused quite a commotion. But John ran down the stairs, hailed a carriage, and took us home to our home in Commercial Road, where the next day I gave birth to a son. Of course, that's a very long time ago, and he's all grown up now, and he's got a very large family of his own. I wonder what he's going to do with his life. He did do some writing. I do hope he makes some money at writing, because you see, John has ended up in debtor's prison. And my father, the one we don't talk about, embezzled the navy and ran off to some island somewhere. But please, he did try to set me up, my son, Mrs. He did try to set me up with a school in London, but I couldn't get any pupils. So please, if you do see any of his books, his readings or anything, please do try and read them. I've got one of his books here, and it's called Great Expectations. And his name is Charles Dickens. Now, you must excuse me, because I've got an appointment with Miss Timms to go and get a new bonnet. So I'll leave you with Headmaster here. Goodbye. Goodbye, Headmaster.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Headmaster. Hello, everybody. I'm a local girl. I live just down the road in Bishop Street. Life is really hard round here. I've had 7 children, but only 3 of them lived long enough to see their 10th birthday. My husband works down the dockyard, you know. He works as a day labourer. Doesn't pay much, but it helps to put food on the table. I do what I can, a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of mending, a little bit of laundry. Do you know those posh people up the road in the big house? They even pay me to wash their bloomers. Oh dear. Anyway, as hard as life is, I'm so glad we always make sure we put our shilling a week into the beneficial society to help us out when times are hard. And right now, times are very hard. My husband had an accident last week in the dockyard. He cut his thumb right open, right down to the bone it was. Oh my goodness, you should have seen the blood. God blimey, it was everywhere. Blood all over the place. Anyway, the doctor stitched him up, but he's going to be out of work for 2 or 3 weeks, he said. Might be longer for all I know. Anyway, no work means no money, and we need money to put food on the table to feed the kiddies. So that's why I've come here today to ask the Beneficial Society to have some of our money back. Where shall I go, Headmaster? Are they
Down the stairs to the office, downstairs.
down the stairs? Anyway, I can't stand here gossiping to you lot all day. I better go. Ta-ra, see you later.
Hi, God bless.
How are you?
How are you? Nice to see you.
Yes, I'm fine. I haven't seen you for
No, how are you? You all right?
Yes, well, yes.
That's it, feet there.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you all here today. Now, my name is Josephine Butler, and I'd like to tell you a few things about myself. Right, I was born in 1828, and my cousin was Earl Grey. He was the British Prime Minister from 1830 until 1834. And before you ask, yes, he was part of the family known for their expertise in tea. So I expect you've all drank Earl Grey tea sometime or other. I prefer it with no milk, just black as it comes. Anyway, I was taught by my father at home. He was an advocate for social reform and their political beliefs, and that had a great influence on me. Things were very different in Victorian times. For the poor, life was horrendous. Many women just turned to prostitution to help feed their children. Young girls 11 to 13 also. They were exploited and recruited for the purpose of prostitution itself. And when you think a child of 11, 13 today, in your time, you can't imagine it, can you? Anyway, I made it my mission to campaign for women's rights, including better education and the right to vote. I began to visit the workhouses. Now, they could house 5,000 individuals, and a lot of them were prostitutes, unfortunately in the final stages of contagious diseases. So what we tried to do was, if and when they came out, we used to take them into our own homes. Now, unfortunately, there was far too many than we would cope with, so we had a bigger premises made, and here we taught them to sew, make envelopes, anything that would try to keep them off the streets. In 1869, I became aware of the Contagious Disease Act. Now, this caused outrage because it allowed the police to arrest all the prostitutes, or many of them, and then humiliating inspections, and they were actually more torture instruments than what you can imagine. In response to this, by the end of the year, we had formed the Ladies' Association for the Repel of Contagious Diseases. I campaigned tirelessly up and back along the... I campaigned tirelessly up and down the country, attended many meetings to try and change all this. And in the end, we did. We raised the prostitution for children to the age of about 16. Now, I always need volunteers, and I'm looking at you all, and I'm sure you could help me out, because what I do try to do is have your breakfast before you come, because you're going to see and smell atrocious things. I mean, there is no sanitation at all. You've probably been taken round and seen the open sewer. So, as I say, so you need something inside your stomachs. So if you can help me, I'd be very pleased. It's very rewarding. You will feel the benefit of helping people. And I look forward to it. I mean, Mr. Mills, they can get you to sign one of my forms, can't they? Yes?
Yes.
So you see Mr. Mills afterwards, sign my forms, and now I'm off again to another meeting. But it's all been worthwhile. So thank you for listening to me and everything. So, yes, there's plenty of you. I expect a nice long list of helpers. Okay? Thank you, Mr. I'm going this way.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, isn't he a gentleman? No, I'll keep him. You can't have him.
Right, if you'd like to follow me.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mills. Lovely to see
And
you.
you too.
And I see you brought me some lovely people here to talk to.
Yes.
Have they been good?
No, they've been terrible.
Oh, my. He always used to say that to me. However, I suppose you're wondering who I am. Well, in my time, I was a very important person indeed. You see, my name is Sir Henry Ayres. You might have heard of me. Well, I was Premier of South Australia 5 times. But I was actually born right here in Portsea in the year 1821 and was educated at this very school. Oh, times were hard back then, not like today where you've got it so good. Do you know there were no toilet facilities in this building? We had to use the sewer ditch in Southampton Row. Nobody had any boots. We walked around in bare feet, and in the winter, your toes were frozen. Now, the school provided boots whilst you were on the premises, but you had to give them back before you went home, for fear your parents would sell them, or even just give them away for a crust of bread. punishment for the slightest misdemeanour was really harsh. Sometimes we'd go in the stocks, and if we were really bad, we'd get the birch. Quite often they had to go and fetch the doctor from St George's Square just to make sure the teachers hadn't beaten one of us to death. Oh, they were hard times, all right, but they certainly made a man of me. Now, in 1840, I married my sweetheart, Anne Potts. Now, she came from Alveston. And at that time, I was a carpenter by trade, and I was offered free passage to Australia for myself and my new bride. And we arrived in Adelaide later that year, following a long and really arduous sea journey. How the prisoners in those convict ships ever survived the voyage, I will never know. The sun beating down on their backs, not enough to eat, hardly enough to drink, and the conditions were absolutely abysmal. However, I joined the Burra Copper Mining Company and soon made a name for myself. I eventually became managing director, amassed a huge fortune, and you know, they even named a rock after me. You might have heard of it, Ayers Rock. Now look, I see my life as a bit of a battle, which I've fought well. It's given me all my heart's desired, both politically and financially. When it came to politics, I exercised caution, but when it came to finance, I was absolutely meticulous. Now there's a moral to this story. However humble your beginnings, have a goal in life. Follow your instincts and don't allow others to interfere unnecessarily. Now, have you got any questions for me? I'm sure you have. I'm sure there's a question in there somewhere.
So they've renamed Ayers Rock, haven't they? Back to
They have.
its name.
It's Uluru, and quite rightly so.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Why did they choose your name for Ayers Rock? What was it called before that?
Well,
Just a rock.
no, it was Uluru. It was always
Right.
Uluru. It was really a sacred place for the Aborigines. And like a lot of things and in a lot of many parts of the world, we had an empire. And whether people respected that empire or not, it was very important to people. And it was very important to Great Britain. And so, quite wrongly, we used to take things that weren't ours. And Ayers Rock was one of them. And as I say, quite rightly, it's gone back to Uluru. Any other questions?
You were Premier, how could you be Premier 5 times? How was that?
Well, it's a totally different political system to what you have in England. And you were literally voted in as the Premier. And I happened to be voted in 5 times. I gave I gave my life really to politics and finance. But I shall be ever grateful for the Burra Copper Mining Company.
Did you come back to visit Portsmouth?
I did. I came back once, but not necessarily just to visit Portsmouth, because my family by then would have spread far and wide. And it was quite late on. It was 1865 I came back here. So I wasn't really looking for family. I actually was away from Australia for 14 months But if you can imagine, it was taking 5 to 6 months just to get there. But what I came back here for was to look at your political situation so that I could go back and not make the same mistakes as you did. Any other questions? A lot of people ask me, they say, well, you know, you came from what was the slums of Portsea, and this was a very tough area. If you can imagine, it was a garrison town, and it was pretty horrible. And they say to me, well, how did you get from the slums of Portsea to be the Premier of South Australia 5 times? So I'm going to tell you a little story. Back in those days, in my school days, and if you can think, I joined this school a day before my 6th birthday and left when I was 11 years of age. Now, we didn't spend so long at school as you did, but I think we learnt that bit more. We learnt the 3 R's and a bit of geography and history. And like all kids, we made our own entertainment, and money was very short. So we used to go mudlarking. Now, I don't know how many of you know what mudlarking is, but I'll tell you, if you go down to the Hard when the tide goes out, it can be quite whiffy. And we used to go down there in that thick black mud and do acrobatics, and the people travelling on the little boats to go to the Isle of Wight or Gosport, it was entertainment to them. So we went down there in the hope that we'd pick up a farthing or two. Now, this particular day, I was walking along, and I suppose I was quite cute in those days.
You still are.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. I knew I could rely on you. And I was walking down there, and this gentleman approached me, and I thought, he looks a very smart man, dressed nicely, handmade shoes, you know what it's like. And he approached me and he said, you look like an intelligent young man. Would you take these folders, these documents, to Mr. Rickman? He said, my name is Mr. Blythe, and I'd like you to take them to Mr. Rickman. And I said, yes, sir, I know where that is. And he said, I will pay you. Well, the magic words, I mean, pay me. I didn't have to be asked twice. So I took the folder from him and off I went. And on the way there, people say I'm nosy. I prefer to say I've got an inquiring mind. So I'm walking down there and I thought, let me have a little peek. Undid the ribbon, looked inside and thought, I thought I knew words, and these were totally alien to me. So I duly tied them back up, and off I went to Mr. Rickman, and he said, thank you very much. He said, just by the way, did you open the folder? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, sir, I can't tell a lie. Yes, I did, but it didn't do me any good at all. He said, what was that? I said, well, I thought I was good at words. I said, and I couldn't understand any of them. So he said, right, you go back to Mr. Blythe, tell him I sent you, and he is to teach you what those words are. Now, unbeknown to me at that time, Mr. Blythe and Mr. Rickman were both solicitors. They were lawyers. And so after school, and when I left school at 11, I went to work for Mr. Blythe. And I stayed with him until I got married. But in the meantime, on weekends, on a Saturday, I was learning carpentry. And that's how I came to be chosen to go to Australia for free, because they needed tradesmen. But when we arrived in Adelaide, Within 11 days, I got a handcart, put all my possessions, gone down, walked to the harbour, put all my possessions on it, and it was 14 miles there and 14 miles back. Carted them back, found a place to live, and I got a job. And believe it or not, the person that I went to work for was actually a Mr. Rickman. And he was also a lawyer, but they weren't related. Distantly possibly. And so that's what I did. I went to work for Mr. Rickman. When they discovered copper in 1846, I then looked at getting a job at Borough. And I joined them in 1847. And the rest is history. Have you got any more questions for me?
Did they pay you to take the papers in the end?
They did. He had already done it, you see. Oh yeah, we were quite cute in those days, as I say. We got the money up front. So yes, but I'd said there is a moral to the story. However humble your beginnings, have a goal in life. I could go on talking about my life forever, but I firmly believe that I was quite a philanthropist. What happened with Borough, they were selling shares, and I bought 45 of them, and they paid dividends 5 times a year at 20%. And there was a gentleman, a friend of mine, he bought 450, and he made me his agent. And in the end, other people bought shares, and I was an agent for them. Excuse me a second. It's your English weather. I mean, they call me up, and I can be here in a nanosecond, but I can also get your colds and flu in a nanosecond.
Well, they say wear a mask.
They do indeed. The only ones that wore a mask in those days were highwaymen. But yeah, so what I did with the money, because they said you use the dividend money, and I lent that out at 10%. So you can imagine what sort of money was coming in. I was making money for them, but also making money for me.
Well, welcome back, everybody. As you can see here, you've got a much better view from up on the stage of the auditorium here. As previously explained, there was a school downstairs, but up here was a concert hall. And lots of famous people appeared here. Strauss appeared here. He gave a concert here. Queen Victoria attended a ball here while she was waiting to go over to the Osborne House on the Isle of Wight. As you heard, Mrs. Dickens went into labour here as well. So it's got lots and lots of famous connections. And Prince Albert was actually one of the trustees. He, to the Beneficial Society, paid money in to keep it going. Now, this was just an auditorium until about 2000, when the previous owner actually built a stage, and it's the first time there was ever a stage here. So that made it possible to actually have theatre shows here, as opposed to just concerts. So they actually do a lot of theatrical productions here. They have visiting acts. They have everything from tribute bands to pantomimes. We even have wrestling here, out there, believe it or not, which was very, very popular. The building actually here, once the school closed in the late 60s, the building fell into disrepair. It was owned by Portsmouth Council, which really only used the yard for parking their vans in. There was sort of like all growth growing in here, trees and everything growing in the place. It was very, very bad state. And the previous owner did some repairs just to make it usable again as a theatre. At one stage, they thought the building was going to have to be demolished. Some children threw some fireworks through the window downstairs, and literally, if the fire brigade had got here 5 minutes later, the whole place would have gone up, and it would have been gone. Now, I know they say show business is glamorous, so I'm just going to show you the glamour of show business, if you'd like to follow me. There is a lot of paranormal activity here, and I think we've got about 12 ghosts in here. It's been on the programme Help My House is Haunted and things like that, and regularly they have paranormal nights here where people actually pay to sleep here and be frightened to death, you know? And all the machines apparently are going, so there is a lot of stuff going on here. I haven't actually seen anyone, but this is meant to be the most haunted part, this part of the building here, and it really is noticeably colder than the rest of the building as you go through. As I said, this is sort of like the chorus dressing room here, so we get as many people as we can in here. As you notice, very luxurious. You have mirrors, no windows, and no door. If you go into the second person, what's the second person called in the show? Not the lead, the supporting act. Their dressing room is the middle one. That has got a door and a window. And the stars dressing room is a little room you'll see on the end there, which has actually got a sink in it, and a window, and a door. So it progresses as you go along. So if you're a star, you actually get a sink. That's it. But it all goes very well. We managed to do quite a lot of productions here and everything. So all the magic goes on the stage, not behind the stage. So that's where it all happens. And that's really it, really. All of it. Anyone got any questions? Anybody being frightened in here? No. Well, it is chilly though, isn't it? Right, actually, I'll take you back downstairs now, and I'll take you to the wardrobe room, and you can see all the costumes. Well, not so many costumes because we're in the process of moving now, but you can speak to the wardrobe mistress downstairs, and she'll tell you anything you want to know about the costumes. All right? You have to go straight in there to the wardrobe department.
Hello everybody. I hope you can hear me. As well as being Elizabeth Dickens, my name is also Elizabeth, and I'm the chief volunteer, and I stress that word volunteer, wardrobe mistress here. As you can see, the wardrobe runs the full length of the building. A lot of our costumes have been moved because I think you all know now that we're moving shortly. So a lot of the costumes, but you can imagine, last week this room was absolutely packed here, all here, but there's a lot of empty shelves and whatnot at the moment. What you've seen today was our very last theatre tour here at Groundlings. John, Margaret, Dudley and I started the theatre tour, I can't remember how long ago now.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. And it's evolved to what you see today, and we hope you all enjoyed it. As regards the wardrobe, a lot of our costumes we have had donated. You have to excuse me, my hearing aid keeps whistling at me. I make costumes, we all make costumes. I made this one for this role. We've also acquired costumes. Our lovely lady of the night, yes, her costume came from the Royal Opera House in London.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, darling, I forgot to say, I'll see you sometime.
Yeah.
Down by the traders, all right?
Yeah.
Usual
We'll get a
rates.
discount.
No, usual rates. I might give you a few little extras.
Oh, I look forward to that.
And also the lovely costume that Margaret's wearing, that's one from the Royal Opera House. Because every so often the big theatres will have a sale, you know, but unfortunately some of the costumes now are very small because obviously everybody's getting bigger these days, and you know.
My tailor made mine.
Yeah. Yeah. At the moment, we're in the process of making costumes for our next production, which are going to be in the dockyard, Cinderella. Oh, yes, we are.
Oh, no, we're not.
Oh, yes, we are.
And you've got a sneaky peek. If you look behind Nancy there, there's 3 costumes there that we're in the process of just sorting out at the moment. In fact, Cinderella will be arriving on Monday for her photo shoot, so do look in the press and online for our latest information about that. If you look at that, it says look out at the station. That is one of the props from when we did the Railway Children a few years ago. The kite was from, what was that? David Copperfield. David Copperfield, yeah. So, you know, we make everything ourselves that we do. We've got a very, well, it's got smaller now, team of volunteers who make everything for us. That because it's a listed building over the years, the only way we could do any renovations was by putting on shows, having other events come here. You could get married here. We're registered for marriage if anybody wants to get married. Yeah, nobody wants to now. But obviously now, because we're all moving. So, what have I forgot?
Oh, the floor.
Oh, yes. Yes. If you look at the floor.
That's why he's knocking the thing on the floor.
Yeah, if you can see where it's all burnt, at the moment we're owned by 2 developers, but before that it was owned privately, and before that the council had it, and then when it was empty, in between the council having it and the previous owner, a child threw a firework through that window, set the place on fire, and the fire brigade at the time said that if they'd have even been 5 minutes later, the whole building would have gone. But the fire brigade got here in time and we'd only lost all the ceilings. So what you see today is what has been achieved since then, which when you think the trust, the Groundlings Theatre Trust, took over just as COVID hit, and we struggled on through COVID and then struggled on again to now, but we've only got 4 years left of our lease with the developers that own the building now, and they have told us that they will not extend the lease in 4 years' time. And if you want, because we're now a charity, you can get money from people, you know, what do you call it? Grants. That's right, I'm getting to mention. Grants, but if you've got less than 5 years left of a lease, you can't apply for grants. And we really do want to survive, so to survive we've got to move. So we're moving to the Dockyard next month, which is really sad, and we're all very upset about it.
Yeah, the ghost.
Oh yeah, the ghost. I've got my prompter here, she's very good at this, yes. I don't know what you've been told upstairs, but the story goes that there was a teacher called Elizabeth, and there was a little child called Emily, and that Elizabeth befriended Emily, and the headmaster told her off. He said because she couldn't single out one child. So she got very upset. I mean, you went backstage, didn't you? And you saw the small dressing room. That was where the stairs originate, and they come down there. And she fell down the stairs, and she died. Now we don't know whether she died here or she died later, but she did die. And they do say, although I've been here a very long time, that she haunts this side of the building. Some people do say it's very cold in here. But, you know, so, and some people have also said that when they've been going upstairs, they can feel a child's hand in their hand. You know, as if she's trying to stop anybody from falling down the stairs. We have had paranormal people here, and we did do a film on the Really channel.
It was called My House is Haunted. It was on that channel.
That's right, yeah. And they did find something, whether you believe it or not. So really, that is it, folks. And like we say, we're really sad. We don't want to end, but we've got to, you know, we can't help the way it goes sometimes.
So we're going to give you a bow because it's our last one.
Oh, yes.